All right, welcome in, welcome in. It is a game day Saturday. I'm going to click these other Facebook groups in here before it's officially time to start talking some ball. And we got spinning wheels. Boom, boom. Check mark, check mark. Welcome in, guys. It is 1:10 p.m. Mountain Time, 12:10 where I am at. And that means, I guess that means it's time for an episode of Mile High Insiders. We are moved to the morning because Broncos decided to encroach on our space. I thought we gave them all Sundays and they'd give us Saturdays, but I guess not. Broncos kickoff coming up in a mere couple hours here. How you doing, Luke?
I'm frustrated, Nick. I'm anxious. I'm excited. I'm tired. I'm exhausted. Everything, man. I mean, this game
Yeah.
doesn't mean anything in terms of the Broncos record, the playoffs, but it means something, if you know what I mean. When we're talking about George Payton, Vic Fangio, bombshell report that we got to get to. Man, I'm feeling weird. I'm feeling all kinds of emotions. I'm on that roller coaster ride right now.
Yeah, it probably is. I will just go on record. I guess off the gate, I would say this is the last game with Vic Fangio as the head coach of the Denver Broncos. It does seem like things are lining up that way, but there is some room that things can go a different way. So let's say hello to some people in the chat. I'll let Scott kind of start pulling some up as well. We got Mr. Stew Meat in the house. How's it doing? Good to see you, Mr. Stew Meat. We got Jeff Noises in the house. Hope Vic is history. We'll see about that. I'm hoping he's history in the AFC West. Kathy Lund is in the house. Hi, Broncos fam. Hello to you, Kathy. Hope you're doing well. We got Andy Schrant is in the house as well. CC Jeff says the head coach options are already out there, so we're gonna see who does it. We got Beto Garcia Maltos coming in here. Hi guys, how you doing? So yeah, let's get into it, guys. This is obviously Mile High. Oh, we got another one here. Victor Rios. Good afternoon, guys. Good afternoon to you, Victor. With the hope your family's doing well. Hope you had a good holiday. Welcome in Mile High Insiders. We are here every Saturday, typically at 6:00 Mountain. I always have to do the conversion in my head because I'm out in the Pacific time. But 6:00 Mountain. I am Nick Kendell and joined by, as always, Luke Patterson. You can follow us both on Twitter. I am at Nick Kendell MHH, and Luke is, of course, at Luke Patterson LP. Make sure you're following the show account at MHI_pod, as well as at Mile High Huddle. If you guys like the gear, we got the matching hats rocking here today. Luke is also wearing the S-side collar shirt. Go to huddleuppod.com, get your swag on, check out the gear there. If you're on Facebook, soon to be the metaverse or whatever the heck they're calling it, go to facebook.com/Mile High Huddle, become a supporter, as well as facebook.com/Mile High Huddle pod. And if you guys are on YouTube, please subscribe, like, and share to this show. Hit the little bell notification so you know when we go live, because you're going to want that, because I'm guessing there's going to be some fiery hot takes after this game with your football priests, Chad and Zach, taking the show after the game is completed.
Yeah, when the clock's hit 0, you can go ahead and find those Huddle Up boys. Chad and Zach will be on the show. You can also find some more written content at milehighhuddle.com. I will have a piece right after the pod publishes, rather, and everything like that. But Nick, speaking of milehighhuddle.com, Chad wrote an article that published about 30 minutes ago, and it's more or less highlighting the bombshell report that Broncos country woke up to this morning, in which NFL.com insiders Ian Rappaport, Tom Pelissero, and James Palmer are all credited with this work, stated that Vic Fangio met with the Broncos general manager George Payton in recent days to present his plans and make his case to stay for a 4th season as head coach. Sources say Fangio's future remains up in the air and entering Saturday's finale against the Chiefs. Multiple league sources not connected to the Broncos believe the team will ultimately decide to move on, but no final decision has been made or communicated to Fangio, who will likely make staff changes if he stays. Nick, what do you make of that report? Because all 3 of those names, Ian Rappaport, Tom Pelissero, James Palmer, some of the best in the business. There's no disputing that. And if you dispute that, then you're wrong. You're flat wrong. I'll say it to your face. When you hear that kind of stuff, what do you think?
Man, I think that this is such a weird situation for the Broncos overall, because this is a coach that should be moved on from with everything that's going on. Now, I know the defense has been good, but he doesn't seem to connect very well with the players. His offensive decisions have been poor, and his game management has been poor as well. We got Jacob Foster coming here, not poor, supporting us with the stars. Thank you so much, Jacob. So all those things to me, but 3 losing seasons in a row for a franchise that just doesn't happen to. It seems like a team that on paper should be better than it is. They're underperforming to the talent on the roster, and that all comes back to quarterback and coaching for me. So to me, that reads out the only reason he might not be back is because the fluidity and the uncertainty with the ownership situation. I think that really just throws such a wrench in this overall. But I think Vic's going to be gone. I don't think you're going to. I think the Broncos are going to get whipped by the Chiefs today. They're going to look around. They're going to see empty seats and a lot of red in the seats today, and they're going to be like, I don't care if the owner can't come in. What the owner doesn't want to come into is a team in this current situation again next season. I think it's bye-bye Fangio.
Yeah, I think it's going to be tough. Just a quick reaction. We'll let it breathe here and let y'all react to the report that Vic Fangio has met with GM George Paton to discuss perhaps future plans, or his vision rather, for another season if he is retained for a fourth year here in Denver. I'll say it's frustrating to me, but it's consistent. We've heard these things from anybody that's connected with the team, to team friendly, to non-team affiliated, Adam Schefter, Ian Rappaport, and everybody in between. You got Woody Page out there, who throws some crazy stuff around and suggested that a head coaching change was coming. So it's hard. It's hard to figure out where things are going to be, but I find myself preparing for the worst. I really do. I almost feel like this notion of Fangio's coming back is starting to really breathe and take form and shape, and it's scary. I hope I'm wrong. Maybe they're just being respectful over there and letting it ride, but I don't know, Nick. I'm worried.
Yeah, it's kind of sad. I feel like we haven't gotten to apathy yet as the fan base. We got Jeremiah, not sad, Jermaine Daughtry coming in here saying, Jermaine Daughtry coming in, not wanting a defensive-minded coach. Defense hasn't been the problem. I hear you, Jermaine. Do you have any thoughts on this? Do you care if it's defensive or offensive coordinator? I don't care. I just want a guy who puts the guys around him in a position to succeed. But
Yeah.
do you care about offense or defense?
Yeah, at this point, Nick, I just want a competent head coach. I mean, we're coming from Vance Joseph to Vic Fangio and everything in between. And I think there's, some substance behind the fact that with rookie head coaches, there's going to be a learning curve. But that's not to say that experienced defensive coordinators or offensive coordinators are the answer either. For me, no, it really doesn't matter. But I would say if I'm splitting hairs, I'm probably going offense in this one. It just feels like that's the trend. Broncos have gone defensive coach for the last two goes. In this league, you've got to develop a quarterback or trade for one and get the offense going. Defense hasn't been the problem. You could survive in the NFL with an average defense. What you can't survive with is scoring 13 points a game the last 5 weeks or something like that. I think they scored 15 points once the last 4 weeks, but it's absolutely maddening. And I hear you, Broncos country. I want you to sound off like Brian Greenfield's sounding off for us with a very generous $5 super chat. Thank you. Brian saying, I've got a bad feeling Fangio isn't going to be fired. I've had a hard time watching the Broncos. I'll have a hard time watching the Broncos next season if he's the coach. Brian, I don't think you're alone. And I think one of the things I'm already starting to formulate for one of my takeaways of the game, I want to know how many no-shows are going to be there, Nick. My wife and I are having a conversation driving down the road the other day, listening to sports radio. And she's asking me, how bad can it get? Let's say Vic is here. How bad can it get? Well, I start thinking about that. And dare I say it ever get to the point where it's the Jacksonville Jaguars blackout? That is like the worst. It can't ever go there. Broncos country means something here in this state, in this country, in this world. And I can't see it going there. But it's plummeting, Nick. I mean, the no-shows are going to be bad. Tickets are for sale. People don't want to go to this game because they know in past history, money talks and BS walks. Joe Ellis does not like it when they're losing money at home games.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. But maybe unfortunately for Denver, maybe fortunate for those in Denver. If the Broncos aren't good, why spend the time, the money, and the effort to go to the stadium when you could go outside and do something in the mountains, or you have a task at home? Maybe you haven't undecorated yet. And they moved the game from Sunday to Saturday. All these things are like, is it worth it to go see a B squad get lit up against the Chiefs with no hope? And we haven't reached apathy yet in Broncos country. Thank goodness for that. I don't think.
What's it going to take to get there? Like real quick, because I hear you. You don't want to spend, if you're a family of 3 or 4, $1,000 to go to the stadium with parking, sodas, the gear, all that crap. Right. I hear you there, but taking my analyst and my professional hat off, I'm having a hard time staying awake during these Broncos games, Nick. I mean, people I think are starting to really check out. And if you're telling me that George Paton is going to keep Vic Fangio and he will survive on Monday, Black Monday in the NFL, I don't know what else to call it but apathy. Is that the point?
I don't think there's apathy yet because there is some hope for this team. There is still interest in this team. There's a lot of connection with Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson. Pie in the sky as
True.
that may be for some people. If the Broncos come out this offseason and they roll back with like Andy Dalton and Drew Lock plus a third round pick at quarterback with Vic Fangio coming back, that they might be in some trouble next season. But I don't think we're in apathy yet. I think we've reached a fatalism where like no matter what the Broncos are going to do, it's going to end up being the wrong decision. But we'll see. I got a little bit of faith, and we have some reason to be optimistic looking forward. Jeff Noyes is making me optimistic right now with the $10 super over on YouTube. Make sure you guys are subscribing, liking, and sharing Mile High Huddle channel over on YouTube. I'm sure Jeff is as well if he's contributing.
Thanks, Jay.
Jeff says, yeah, thank you so much. Not a meaningless game, says Jeff. I believe Kansas City can lose home field advantage.
Yep.
To my understanding, Kansas City has already lost home field advantage because Tennessee right now is the team that controls their destiny. And I think Tennessee is playing, they're either playing the Texans. I think they're playing the Texans. So it'd be really hard for the Titans to lose home field advantage. But KC, I think, could fall all the way to the 3 or 4 seed if they lose this game with the Buffalo and another team potentially crossing them. I can't remember off the top of my head. Who's the AFC?
That's at 11. You're right, Nick.
Bengals.
That's an 11 a.m. game tomorrow morning at Houston for the Titans. The Chiefs need to beat the Broncos, which they will. Spoiler alert for our prediction at the end of the show. But no, the Chiefs will win in Denver, but they need the Titans to lose against a 4-12 Houston Texans team. I don't know that that's going to happen. It's going to be tough. But to your point, the Chiefs have something to play for. We saw the little picture or meme rather on Twitter that Chris Jones, a pain in the side in the butt in the trenches, is got some money on the line with one sack. Is that like 1.5 million dollar bonus for one more sack? You gotta know that KC, there's got to be some DBs looking for interception money. I mean, you got the best defensive line, one sack, that's it. I mean, come on. The Chiefs are going to show up for sure. I just wonder if the starters are going to be benched by half.
I just want nobody to come out with an injury. If they can do that in this game, the score be damned. I don't care. No serious injuries. But we got Jermaine coming back in with some more stars, I'm sure. Thank you very much to our producer in the background, Scott Kennedy, for pinging these up for us. Jermaine says it's a passing league, and we need to use the offensive talents on that side of the ball. Yeah, I mean, you're right. The Broncos have weapons on paper. I do think this is a conversation to have later on, maybe. Did we vastly overrate the Broncos wide receiving room coming into the season, especially when we see the contracts that Tim Patrick and Cortland Sutton signed? You know, like, oh, those are big bargains, we thought. I mean, are they big bargains, or are they getting paid what they should be on the market? You know, there's questions we're going to have to ask ourselves. But you're right. It's too hard for the Broncos. That comes back to coaching staff. That comes back to the quarterback play. They're not maximizing the offensive weapons that they have.
Yeah, it is what it is. Receiver is a dependent position. And when you've got Teddy Bridgewater and Drew Lock and Brett Rippon, I mean, it's hard to expect a lot. I mean, we all have a lot of optimism moving into every season when it's August and September and we're coming off of training camp and the honeymoon that was the summer. But man, when you really look at this quarterback room, I think they're going to probably try to keep Brett Rippon, maybe, let him hang out there, third string, maybe transition to a coach one day. But yeah, receivers been really, really tough. People have been, rightfully critical of Jerry Jeudy. He doesn't have the drops or anything like that, but I mean, no touchdowns. That's hard to get past. We got to see it's a dependent position. If you got another big superstar like Russell Wilson or Aaron Rodgers, that all changes, right? And I hear you, Devontae Adams, very much connected with Aaron Rodgers as well. So we will have to see. But Mr. Stu Mead is coming in the house with a $4.99 super sticker of a broken game controller. And I'm just wondering if that's because Stu was watching the Broncos, halftime. They never lead. I think their Fangio's won one game when they were double-digit loss at halftime. And I don't blame you, Stu. I've thrown the remote. I've thrown the controller. I've had a little fit. So I don't blame you at all. Thank you for the support.
Yeah, thank you, Stu, for the broken controller. I feel that. Hopefully we can get a new one in the mail this offseason that has the buttons for touchdowns on it, because we just need to be a little bit better there next season. It's been rough. We got Chris O'Huron coming in here too. Chris, hope you're doing well with the stars over on Facebook.
Thank you,
and I see some questions in the chat here while Scott's kind of pulling these up. Luke, can you tell me who is going to be out today for the Broncos? I know there are some names that are officially out. I'll kick off one. The news today is Bobby Massey is going to be out at right tackle for the Broncos due to concussion. I guess that's good for him. I know that his wife is very active on Twitter, and he's going to be a free agent this offseason. So he's being protected, protecting himself. And the Broncos will be without him at right tackle today. Maybe that's an issue against the Chiefs with Frank Clark.
That must have just happened, huh? Because I'm like scrolling through my email. I don't have it or anything like that. I'm on the spot. Just thinking, right? You start looking at your defensive starters immediately. Pat Surtain, cornerback, out of the game. Ronald Darby, cornerback, out of the game. Strong safety, Kareem Jackson, out of the game. Dalton Reisner, starting left guard, not going to play. Let's see. What else do we have? You got Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams, who will both go. Brett Rippon's going to be the backup. Wide receiver core is going to go. I mean, I don't. There's no one really missing there. Everyone got elevated. That was on that funny little bug list last week. That was announced earlier in the week. But yeah, I think to your point and to your concern, Broncos country, you have to worry about long-term injuries. And the question and the argument of whether or not Cortland Sutton should be out there right now, I think is very fair. It's one of my keys to the game here is you got to prevent future injuries, just like you said, Nick. How horrible would it be if one of your long-term players that was just inked, like a Tim Patrick or Cortland Sutton, gets hurt? Some meaningless game with nobody watching, with the fan base wondering if the head coach is going to get the axe. That would be horrible, and that would be truly worst case scenario.
Yeah, I still would have some copium that Wilson or Rodgers would come because we all know the quarterback really makes the team and the coach, but we'll see. We got Alan Forrester coming in here over on Facebook. Thank you so much, Alan. Alan says, Denver Broncos for life here in Middlewich, United Kingdom. It's easy to watch. Yeah, over across the pond. Hope you're doing well. Just got off the phone with my buddy in Germany, so I know it's getting a little late over there. Hopefully you can stay up for the game. It was easy to watch a Manning-led team. It was okay watching Tebow Cutler-Orton, who gave you hope, but getting up at 1:30 a.m., there we go, to watch tough. I would like to see a head coach and quarterback change. The rest will fall into place with Peyton. I mean, I would say the quarterback is far more important than the head coach. But if you can get yourself a quarterback and a head coach this offseason, you can right the ship. But I mean, get in line and good luck, right? Those are just, we got to take more dice rolls, I guess, but there's no guarantee that you're going to get it right.
You know what bothers me, Nick? Alan is so right. And Alan, thank you for staying up and thank you for your support. Yeah, we've got Broncos country all over the world. And Alan, to your point, your opinion should matter here in Broncos country. And we're about to find out if it does with GM George Payton. Vic Fangio has been the worst coach in the history of the Denver Broncos. I mean, it's just unacceptable. Everything that this year was supposed to be, he's this defensive mastermind, and I'm not seeing it. It's a good defense. I don't think it's great. It's the easiest schedule in the NFL. Can't make the playoffs. Highest paid defense in the NFL. What have we done with that? Sure, the offense is the problem, but I mean, for crying out loud, the fan base has got to feel supported and has got to feel heard. We've got fans all over the world spending their money. It's not cheap to keep the electricity on here in 2022. It's not cheap to get a TV package that beams in the satellite game, 1:30 in the morning in the UK. George Payton, do the right thing and make the change.
Yeah, we got, who's doing the right thing? Naj, $50 over on YouTube.
Thanks, Naj.
God bless you, Naj. That helps us so much. We really appreciate it. Hope you and your family as well. Hey, bros, seeing the regression or lack of regression with Sutton, Judy, Fant, the offensive line, etc., is so frustrating. With the schedule this season has to be labeled as a complete failure. I hope the team plays their best game today. Please give us fans hope. Naj, we appreciate it so much. I'm going to push back a little tiny bit on this. I think you did see some progression on the roster on the whole this season. This was an overall one of the younger rosters in football this season, and you had to deal with some depth and some rookie class contributions. And you saw development there, progression there. I thought towards the end of the season, you saw hope for Fant. Offensive line, Quinn Minor's getting in there. You're bringing back, you could bring back literally everybody next year on that offensive line right now. So that's your baseline. It can only get better, right? With the offensive line taking a step forward there for the interior. We'll see what happens with right tackle. So I think there is reason for hope. But I get you. I wouldn't say it's a complete failure, but not getting into the playoffs, still no resolution at the quarterback position, uncertainty with the head coach, uncertainty with the ownership. I would say overall the season is a failure. I just don't know if I'd go as emphatically as you did with the complete failure.
Yeah, Naj, I like the recognition of the lack of progress with Sutton, Judy, and Fant. The offensive line for me, I agree with Nick. You can't really, no longer is the offensive line the worst part of this team. It's the quarterback. I mean, it's sure the right tackle. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's a cursed position. Jawan James cursed it on his way out the door, but I just don't understand it at right tackle. One day they've got to get it right. But when it comes to Cortland Sutton, I would say that although he hasn't been the dominant wide receiver that I hoped he would be, I'm very happy with how he's responded from injury. Trying to learn to play with that heavy brace has been something that I've absolutely hated watching him do, and he's done it well. He's tough. He's a captain for a reason. I think his voice is well heard and well respected. But Jerry Jeudy, again, that's a dependent receiver position. I mean, it's man, to get the quarterback to throw you the ball and you don't know who the quarterback's going to be or if they're healthy even. And mind you, Drew Lock probably not 100% going into this game. Here we go. We got to have a reason for hope. That reason for hope starts with the dismissal of Vic Fangio as early as tomorrow morning. I don't want to wait till Black Monday. Let's do it. You want to shake up the NFL world? Let's start it on the day where everyone else is still going to be playing to get in the postseason. All right. That comes tomorrow morning.
Yeah, it's definitely possible. I just can't imagine a world where Fangio's back, and I think it's a good service to him. And Peyton's going to say everything right around him as he pats his back out the door, saying, "Thanks, buddy. Good luck elsewhere." I think that's the inevitable outcome. We got the boss man coming in here, talking about an inevitability. Chad Jensen. I haven't seen Jensen's Shiny Marble for a bit. That was one of my favorite alter ego accounts on here. Hope they're doing well. But time to exercise the Fangio demon. Denver needs a spiritual cleansing. I agree with you, Chad. I am curious to see what'll happen with the coaching staff around Fangio. But if the ownership situation was stable at all, Fangio would be gone. And it makes it such a tough situation. And then you're talking about cleaning the offensive side of the ball. If you keep Fangio, who wants to come when there's going to be that little security for that position? You're already dealing from a position of weakness. I don't know. I think you just need to bite the bullet and move on and hopefully George Payton needs to find somebody good enough that he believes in enough that it's like, regardless who the owner is, they're going to like this guy. So go out there and earn your money, Fangio.
Chad's a good writer. He's a great podcaster, so he's got the gift when it comes to writing. And when he says time to exercise the Fangio demon, I truly believe that. Now, no, he's not demonizing Vic Fangio. Calm down, Karen. He's talking about just the overall bad taste that Vic Fangio has left in Broncos country's mouth. And we've heard for the last few weeks how much George Payton likes Vic Fangio. And I don't get it. I'm not going to make it personal or anything like that. But we know that Pat Bowlen loved Mike Shanahan, treated him like a son, and he ultimately had to dismiss him because this is about business. Simple. It's plain and period. Vic has not got the job done in 3 years. I mean, 30 losses in 3 years. That's as bad as it gets, Broncos country, and that's a fact.
Yeah, it's bad, and it's a tough situation. And again, coming back to the Broncos fatalism, can't get the coach right, can't get the quarterback right. In a black hole with the Mahomes and Herbert in the division for the next decade plus. I get it, but Broncos got some reason to be optimistic going forward, and I think some of that optimism needs to come with Peyton relieving us of the Fangio tenure in Denver. Not relieving us, or I guess giving us some relief here today. Miguel coming in. Thank you so much, Miguel, with the stars. As always, Miguel is a constant contributor on here, always supporting us on all the shows. I see Miguel all the time, so hope you are well. Sup, fellas? Hoping for a good showing today and a good showing from Peyton on Monday. Yeah, Miguel and I are on the same page.
Yeah, Broncos 4-9 the last 13 games after a 3-0 start. They originally lost 4 in a row, then won 2 in a row. They were favored, Broncos country. Remember this. And all of the AFC North games that they were pitted to win, lost them all out. Right now, Broncos are looking at a 4-game losing streak to finish the 2021 season and start the 2022 year. The only way that you can right any of that is by dismissing the head coach. I can't imagine George Payton retaining this guy. I'm trying to talk myself into it, but I feel like I'm not going to be the only one that has a fit if that happens. I mean, the fan base, I feel like that's almost an insult to the fan base. Now, I don't want to ever make this personal because this is about the NFL and football, but when Vic Fangio continually throws everybody under the bus, so much so that he needed to have a talking to after the Cleveland Browns snafu on Thursday Night Football, in which he just blames everybody. doesn't take any sort of accountability. I don't know what kind of plan he could have even gave George Payton. I'm surprised he even wants to stay here in Denver. He knows he's not he knows he's not well received here, even if he doesn't know what Twitter is and doesn't watch movies or anything like that. His people talk to him. His family talks to him. He is a human being. And the head coaching thing, it just hasn't worked out.
No. Yeah, not yet. He'll land on his feet, though. He will be highly demanded as soon as he's released from Denver as a defensive coordinator, so he'll be fine. I don't feel bad for Fangio for any of this. We got Jermaine coming back in. How do you guys feel about Jim Harbaugh and drafting a quarterback? Let him work with the guy. Um, I don't think Harbaugh's coming here. It sounds like if he's going anywhere, it's the Las Vegas Raiders, potentially the Chicago Bears are another team. But I don't think Harbaugh's coming here. That relationship with the ownership is a big situation there, and I think that's going to be big for Harbaugh. And I don't know if the Broncos have the means to pay Harbaugh the deal that he's going to come with as well, with the years and commitment without the nod of the ownership situation. So I think it would be fun to do that, but I just don't think it's going to align that way this time, unfortunately.
Yeah, Jermaine, that's a good question because if the Raiders are in on a coach, the Broncos shouldn't be scoffing at anybody. Jim Harbaugh certainly has had success in the NFL and has had success in college football as well. I ultimately think he's going to stay at Michigan. I really do. I think this is about trying to get paid a little bit more, but there is some truth and some life to what you just pointed out with the Raiders, Nick. I mean, he's very close friends with Mark Davis. You could see Mark Davis trying to sell him into the job of coming to Las Vegas. Brand new stadium, a fan base that is going to be pumped if they make it into the playoffs tomorrow. They've owned the Broncos, swept them this year. I mean, there's a lot of positives to take a Raiders head coaching job. There really is. I mean, any head coaching job. I was having this conversation with my dad today, and he's like, who's going to want to hire Vic as a head coach again? And it's like, no, man, that's not it. He's going to get hired as a defensive coordinator, but he suggested something to me that I hadn't quite considered. He had talked about the ownership. We know that the team is more than likely going to be sold. Joe Ellis, he's on his way out. What if they're keeping Vic Fangio here just until they figure out the ownership thing? So another year, and then they dismiss Vic. I think his contract runs out. They don't have him back. What if it's a clean break, and that's what George Payton's trying to set up? And then Broncos country has to suffer another year of losing football before they get on a clean slate with a hand-picked head coach and an owner established.
I mean, this is something we've been talking about on these shows since last season, right? With the ownership situation being tenuous, with the timeline for that being tenuous with the head coaching one, because it just does not align. So I guess it's possible if you do that, but you're talking about a real position of weakness in 2022 because you're moving on from a lot of the offensive staff. Vic Fangio enters what is essentially a lame duck season, and you punt a quote unquote punt another season, kind of like Peyton had. What was it? What did they keep calling it? A redshirt season this year for George Payton to figure it out. Oh, you're giving yourself another year, and then the year after that is a redshirt season for the owner. How many times are we going to keep punting the timeline back year after year after year?
Right.
So I don't know. I think you just need to have the clean break, and you hire George Payton because you believe in his football acumen and his vision for this organization. I think you need to believe in that regardless of the owner. And if the owner wants to come in and break everything down and fire the head coach after one season, God bless him. I guess he's the owner. He can do that. But right now, the one that I think you should align yourself with is George Payton. And hopefully he can get this hire right. So we're not even having to worry about what the owner thinks next season because we're in the playoffs, that kind of thing.
Playoffs, what are those? We don't know anything about that since 2015. 5 losing seasons in a row, Nick. Broncos country's had enough. And Casey Nichols weighing in with some of his thoughts. Thank you very much for the super chat. I hear a lot about Denver getting new owners. Is that confirmed? Is the Peyton Manning rumor to be potentially an owner true as well?
I can't. I think it was Albert Breer on the Dan Patrick show. This is just pulling off the top of my head there, but he mentioned that the Mannings for a number of years had not really taken pay cuts in order to build family wealth because the Mannings themselves had been hoping to be an owner or a part of an ownership group to invest in an NFL team and be a partial owner. The Mannings, at least I don't know their total banking account, but like you're talking about million or billions of dollars for owning a team. And I don't think the Mannings have that. So they'd probably be a Magic Johnson situation with the Lakers where he's a partial owner and the face of the ownership group, but he's not the actual big financial backing for that ownership group. So I guess it's possible, but right now it's very loose rumors where you're just seeing an opening and some connection to the team, and maybe even some fan fiction being written in to that situation. But I guess it's a possibility, man. These last 10 years have been wild just in general, right? So I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I'm
Right.
not going to sit here and tell you that that's not possible, because things happen.
Yeah, until Peyton Manning comes out and says that, we really don't know. We know what you know in this case. I mean,
Yeah.
I think even some of the most tapped in insiders don't know, because Peyton keeps things so underground on what he's going to do, and he does what he wants to do. And then when he wants you to know, you'll know. So,
Yeah.
Broncos country, I don't blame you for wondering. I've also heard John Elway's been fielding calls too, trying to get his ducks in a row. So, those reports are out there. Jeff Bezos reports are out there. I mean, a million reports are out there. If you got a little bit of money and can scrounge up some rich friends, you're probably in. If you're a billionaire, you're probably in the conversation. So we got to see. It could be a wild goose chase for a little while, but I think the sale has got to happen pretty quick and furious.
Yeah, Broncos country. Keep getting those contributions in so Mile High Huddle can make a claim. Let's have a fan-owned, no,
There
a
we
fan-owned
go.
team. There we go.
But then we couldn't
Start
say
lock.
whatever
Don't
we
start lock.
wanted. We couldn't say whatever we wanted then, Nick. We got
Ah,
there's certain things come with that, so we got to be careful.
you know what? Bring me the responsibility. We'll have fun with it. Merlot coming in. 6 years of the Broncos being irrelevant. Yeah, it's frustrating, Merlot. I feel that too. I do think there is reason for optimism. My biggest fear right now is that the Broncos make a hasty decision and choose from, or make a big commitment to options when the options are not worth a big time commitment. That's my biggest fear right now, because that sets you back another 3 years versus, kind of treading water for 1 year. That's my biggest concern this offseason. But the Broncos have a lot of means to build going forward. This team, a lot of the advanced statistical metrics have this team as one of the top 15 teams in football, despite not making the playoffs. I think they'd have a 11-5 record right now if you flipped all their one-score games, which historically one-score games are coin flips. That obviously, if you have a better coach and quarterback, you tend to win those one-score games more often. But historically, over a long enough sample size with a large enough sample size, those one-score games tend to even out. That to me says that there's a lot of meat on the bone for this team heading into 2022. And even if you brought Fangio back, you could make the playoffs with the talent you have. You just had some bad run-ins this season. So there is reason to be hopeful and optimistic for this season, regardless of what happens at head coach and quarterback.
It's tough, Broncos country, and we're going to be here to get you up to it. We got about 30 more minutes to go, and then you get a little break, 30-minute break, and then kickoff for the last Broncos game against the Chiefs here in Denver. Broncos country, must I remind you, the last Denver win against Kansas City, week 2 of the 2015 season. That was, of course, with Peyton Manning at quarterback. And Nick, Peyton Manning's been elected to the Pro Football Hall of Fame already. That's been how long it's been since the Broncos have gotten a win. It's just unacceptable. And with that has got to come change, which Jeff Noyes is weighing in with a great question. Speaking of change, Nick, would you spend more draft capital on a quarterback or head coach? And I think I know where Jeff is going with this. Reports in Seattle have got, Russell Wilson and Pete Carroll beefing, right? They're not getting along. I know John Clayton swears up and down that they are. Everything's going to be fine. Perhaps. Nick, coaches have been traded in the NFL too. It wouldn't be the first time that a coach was traded in professional sports. Basketball, it happens a little bit, I guess. It's odd. But it's kind of one or the other in Seattle, right? With Russell Wilson and Pete Carroll. What if they decide to go with the quarterback instead of the head coach?
I want no part of trading for Pete Carroll,
Me
just
neither.
because trading draft picks for a head coach who is the oldest head coach in football. Not that Pete Carroll hasn't been great in Seattle, considering what he's done in his tenure there, but that just doesn't make sense long term. Like, if Mike Tomlin is available, if John Harbaugh is available, like, I'm interested in giving up draft capital given where those guys are and how good they are year after year. But spending more draft capital for the quarterback position for sure.
Yeah, you got to win with a quarterback in this league. A phenomenal quarterback can make an average coach look amazing. Bama coming in, weighing in rather with some support and a comment saying the joke is on us. They're going to fire Fangio and keep Pat Shermer. Yeah, that is very possible. That was pretty much pointed out in the report from Tom Pelissero, James Palmer, and Ian Rappaport, in which they said if changes were going to be made, they were more so going to be on the assistant level. Donatel would be here. He's Vic's whoopee. He's not going to go anywhere. A complete wasted resource, if you ask me. I'm so curious what an Ed Donatel defensive call would look like, but we will never know. Our guy Nathan is weighing in here with some support. $2 super. Thank you so much. With a great question. Nick, do you guys think that DeMarcus Ware makes a first ballot Hall of Fame?
DeMarcus Ware. Yeah, I think he does. He had the very high draft pedigree coming out of Troy. Didn't have the college pedigree because he played at Troy, but high draft pedigree. Played at Dallas, where he was hyped up around the league for a number of years, rightfully so. But like if he was playing not in Dallas, he wouldn't have the same level of publicity. And then going to Denver to be paired with Manning and winning a Super Bowl across from Von Miller. I mean, just the narrative surrounding Ware on top of good play makes him I think he's got a good shot for the first ballot Hall of Fame.
I do too. DeMarcus Ware, obviously.
Also a great dude. Sorry to interrupt.
I know.
Great dude.
Totally. Did you see his videos this morning waking up with the Super Bowl jerseys on and stuff like that? I'm like, dude, yeah, that's awesome. D Ware, who doesn't love D Ware? He'd be the best politician in the world because everyone would love him. Fuzzy Knuckle weighing in. George Paton should seriously interview the players and see what their perspective is. They know better than any of us. I'm not sure that's going to happen, Fuzzy, but what I'm curious about is the players outright quitting on Vic Fangio today. Shelby Harris has historically taken a lunge at the head coach in a heated moment last year. Vic has thrown lots of people under the bus. I'm sure a lot of his assistant coaches are wondering, if you're on defense, hey, I'm probably good. If you're on offense, you're probably not going to have a job after this game if Vic is retained. Maybe you see a little bit of a breakdown in coaching and a little bit of a breakdown at the players in terms of overall effort. I hope not, but this is the Chiefs we're talking about here, and they're fixing to beat the brakes off the Denver Broncos.
Yeah, and some news today. Broncos are wearing their all blues for their regular season finale, the navy tops and bottoms. So the big stuff there.
Yeah, that's how good. It matches the mood. We feel blue in Broncos country, but don't you worry. We'll be feeling red if Vic Fangio is kept as head coach, something that I absolutely can't imagine. Let me ask you a question, Nick, because it's on at the forefront of everybody's mind. The Broncos get embarrassed, like we're predicting, and the players quit. Another low. That'd be 13 games against the Chiefs. Do we have to wait all the way until Monday to either get the news that Vic has been terminated or retained, or could we hear that news as early as Sunday?
I think it's a possibility we'll know come Sunday, but it will not be official until Monday. Big George Paton so far in his career has been in Denver, has been great at kind of diverting the media's attention and then going a different direction. I mean, I'll never forget Carl's face when they announced Patrick Surtain instead of Justin Fields for that 9th pick, with Peyton going every which way. Who knows? But Kathy saying blue and melancholy. Yeah, it's still Broncos football, and you bet your ass we'll be excited about it by the time August rolls around. But yeah, no, I think sorry, what was the question again? I totally got distracted by Kathy's
would if Fangio gets embarrassed, do we have to wait until Monday if he's going to be released or fired or what have you, or retained?
I think officially we will, but I think we're going to find out Sunday sometime that
it'll
which
leak.
Direction it's going to go. Yep, it's like, they've met, they're preparing, and then you'll see it in the list of coaches coming out pretty much all at once.
Okay, so is there Sunday night football tomorrow night?
Yes, could be the potential Neil-a-thon. If the Jags beat the Colts, then the Raiders and Chargers have to tie. If they both tie, they'll make the playoffs. So it's not going to happen, but that'd be hilarious.
Maybe that Jags-Colts game is where you get some of that leak, right? It's halftime, breaking news, report, Schefter, Ian Rappaport, whoever on the telecast, perhaps, because I think Broncos country's sick of waiting. They've already had to wait, 2 years too long. I don't think you should ever fire a coach after one season unless they truly deserve it, and there's crazy circumstances. Vic obviously has not broken any laws or done any hateful things, or anything like that. So it's just been losing, too much losing, and you haven't done the job that you were hired to do. Casey Nickel again weighing in with a generous super chat. My trade scenario for Aaron Rodgers: Jerry Jeudy, 2 firsts and a second. I think Denver snags an offensive-minded head coach. Thoughts on what you guys want to see? I'm good with the trade. I do it all day, every day, and twice on Sunday. An offensive-minded head coach, you bet. Nathaniel Hackett, Denver, hear me out. It's another rookie head coach, but if you get a rookie head coach that gets you Aaron Rodgers here, don't you feel a lot better? Wait a second. There's no guarantees, though, right, Nick?
Yeah.
There's no guarantees that Rodgers is getting here. What a risk it would be to try to trade all that capital after you've already hired a rookie head coach in Nathaniel Hackett. Big risk.
You need to sell yourself on the coach regardless of the quarterback.
Agreed.
It can't be a +1 just the timeline wise. So if you've hired Nathaniel Hackett, you need to be okay with it. Nathaniel Hackett plus, God help us, Jimmy Garoppolo and the late round 1 pick or something like that. That kind of combination where you're like, okay, I can see that working out short term, and then kind of the direction of the offense going forward. Obviously, it's a big plus if you think bringing in Quinn can bring you Russell Wilson. If you think bringing in Hackett can bring you Aaron Rodgers, you take that every time. But hello to in Austria, man, goodness, across the
Yeah.
pond there.
See
Talk about
that?
that.
Broncos
Yeah,
world, man. It's Broncos
yeah.
countries all over the world. Absolutely love it.
Yeah, we got Lonnie coming in too. Lonnie had a comment earlier thinking Locke's going to be successful elsewhere in the Broncos front office and coaches did him dirty. You know what, Lonnie? If that's true, then guess what? We're going to see it come to fruition because Locke's going to get. He's got enough talent. He's going to kick around the league for a little bit, and if he catches on somewhere, a lot of people can look back and say, "See, I told you so." So
Unless
passage of time is going to show that out.
Unless Pat Shermer wants to get him absolutely killed, something I just absolutely was fuming about. And I'm not even a Drew Lock guy anymore, but I thought that whole little trick cutesy play from Kendall hitting
Yeah.
to Drew Lock was about the most stupid and reckless thing that I've ever seen. I ultimately laid it at the hands of Vic Fangio as the head coach because he's so disconnected from the offense, but he's ultimately the guy, right? So you can't pass the buck. Pat Shermer, don't be throwing any passes to the only quarterback that can really play in this game. And no disrespect to Brett Rippon, like Brett Rippon a lot, but I mean, you got to have Drew out there. That's so clear. I would also encourage you to go read Kenneth Booker's latest article. I think it was published yesterday on why the Broncos floundered Drew Lock's potential. It's a good piece. Whether or not you agree with the argument, I think that it holds legs. I mean, that conversation is at the table when you and your buddies are debating what went wrong with the Broncos, because it takes two to tango, and Drew has not done his part, but the Broncos haven't done their part either. So who are
No.
we really kidding?
Yep, it's frustrating. And a shout out to Lonnie. Thank you for joining us today and on the Facebook groups as well, man. We appreciate you. I guess we need to talk scenarios in this game and get out of here. I'm excited to see some of the young guys. Hopefully somebody steps up. But again, I'm watching this game like it is a preseason game. I don't give a hoot about the outcome. Nobody get hurt. And hopefully some of the young guys get some reps for something to build on going into the offseason. Big outcome for this game. The Broncos, if they lose today, the lowest they can pick is 11. The highest they can pick is 7. If they win today, the highest they can pick is 11. The lowest they can pick is 14. Could be off by 1 or 2 there, but I think my math is correct.
Yeah, what do you look for today if you're a member of Broncos country watching this game? It's going to be hard for me not to be distracted. Again, I've been talking about no-shows the whole show. The cameras aren't going to be panning in and out to that. They got a funny way of working with team-friendly home sites, if you will. They keep in mind, this is an NFL primetime game. The NFL does not want to show. This isn't a Broncos thing. The NFL doesn't want to show a ton of empty seats getting ready to promote the playoffs and a busy day on Sunday tomorrow. So no shows. I care about that, and I care about effort. We talked about it last week with George Payton. Yeah, he's definitely made good moves with rookies and the draft and some free agency moves. But you know what? The guy can evaluate professional NFL players as well. He made his bones in the league as a professional scout. You have got to know if you're a player on this team, the very first evaluation of film starts today with the Chiefs. That's the first bit that George Payton is going to be looking at when him and his scouts and the rest of the brass sit down and they're trying to figure out which players they want to build around. Starts today when nothing matters, no one's watching, and Broncos country could be having a pitchfork and lanterns scenario if Fangio's retained.
Yeah, nope, absolutely. Just hoping for nobody getting injured again. That's just the big thing for me. Nathan coming in here with a $5 super over on YouTube. Thank you so much, Nathan. Hope you're
Thanks,
doing
Nate.
well. Happy Saturday. Speaking of A-Rod, as journalists, what are your thoughts on the media guy who said he wouldn't vote for Rodgers for MVP because he thinks he's a jerk? I think that was a guy just getting a sound bit that was inflammatory, so that way people talk about it from years on, and that guy knows that his vote is probably a throwaway. Aaron Rodgers is going to get it no matter what, so he's going to make it about him versus Aaron Rodgers. I think it's dumb, but it seems like an old hat trick. We see this play out. It's just some stupid guy, and he's getting a sound bit. And congrats on your 2 minutes of fame, whoever you are.
Hub, I think was his name. I don't even know the last
Who
name.
cares?
Good. Yeah, who cares? Seriously, Nathan, good question, man. The NFL is shocker. The NFL is not full of Boy Scouts, ladies and gentlemen. I often like to say, don't meet your heroes, or if you pick heroes, pick them wisely.
Yeah.
It's one thing to be entertained, and it's one thing to love this game that is football. And you do want these guys to be good role models, and you want the kid who is sporting that player's jersey to have a legitimate reason to do so, with him being a good guy, right? Like Justin
Yep.
Simmons, a Teddy Bridgewater, some of these guys in the Broncos that they're really propping up because they are good guys. Now, that being said, this guy coming out there breaking the rules as a member, of Pro Football Writers of America, I'm going to say that, first of all, you can't telecast who you're going to vote for. So
Yep.
you probably just got yourself kicked out of getting to vote for another MVP, is pretty much what John Clayton said on air yesterday. I think it was rubbish, Nick. Just like you said, it was a Chicago thing as well. The guy covers the Bears, and he's from Chicago. So
Yep.
you got to know it's a Chicago Green Bay thing, and it is
Yeah.
what it is. Great question, Nate.
Yeah, if I would have no issue for an LA Times person voting Cooper Kupp. I'd have no issue for a Cincinnati person voting Joe Burrow. I'd have no issue for an Indianapolis person voting Jonathan Taylor. It's going to be Aaron Rodgers who wins it. He deserves it. Those other votes are more like, hey, I'm in this market. This guy deserves a shout out.
Quarterback.
Yeah, the best
Quarterback. If you're a Broncos fan, though, hope that Aaron Rodgers doesn't get it. Okay, maybe that could help just a little with the trade value. Probably not, but just a little. Jonathan Taylor. As soon as you said his name, Nick, I love watching that guy play football. Man, who doesn't? He's brilliant. He runs hard. He can play receiver. I mean, man, when you talk about a special back, Jonathan Taylor's in there. And speaking of backs, I heard Henry is coming back. Good old Henry with the Titans. So brace up for some good football. Jermaine coming in again saying we're playing for the draft pick. That's where we're at, man. Living in a world of suck, as Manuel Sanders used to say, and we've referenced on this show as well. Jesse Fraley is weighing in with a very generous super chat. Thank you very much. What do we have here? 15,000 no-shows is in 1 in 5. That's unheard of. Wow. Okay. So I know that the Broncos are averaging between 9 and 10,000 no-shows. I think the last 3 to 4 home games. So we're going to have to see. I know that tickets have been on sale here for still a high price because, Nick, the Broncos dominate Colorado. That's just kind of how it is. No disrespect to the Nuggets, the Rockies, the Avalanche, and good teams, right? I don't watch hockey, but I understand that the Avs have been phenomenal. I understand that there have been some highlight reels and things like that. The losing Broncos are still getting all the run in this town. So when Broncos country checks out, you best believe that the brass has got to take notice of that.
NFL is king, not just in Denver, just across the board. It's the king. And it will continue to be. And Broncos fans are down bad right now, but I don't think we're down bad forever. And once this team gives us more reason to be optimistic again, they're going to be bought in. We're going to be bought in. We're bought in either way, but fans will be bought in. Sam BBM coming in, and thank you, Jesse, for the super chat. But Sam coming in, not sure what happens after the game for Fangio, but whatever George Paton decides, I fully believe he will have good reasons to do it. And I have full faith in Paton to get this team back to winning. Denver Broncos for life. Appreciate that, Sam. I feel you totally as well. Hopefully the Broncos end up making the right decision here for this team going long term. They have the means to do it. They have a good young draft class to build on. They're not in a bad financial situation with the cap, and they got some draft capital. So there's reasons to be optimistic regardless of the game today. And make sure you guys are tuning in after the game today to hang out with Chad and Zach with their Huddle Up show, the post-game reaction show. Also, make sure you're following Luke and myself on Twitter. Luke is at Luke Patterson LP, and I am at Nick Kendell MHH. Also, while you're over on Twitter, follow us at MHI_pod, as well as at Mile High Huddle. If you're joining us on Facebook today, or if you're not joining us on Facebook today, go over there, go to facebook.com/Mile High Huddle, as well as facebook.com/Mile High Huddle pod. Join the communities there, rage against Fangio, talk about Drew Lock, talk about George Paton. I mean, there's draft. It's draft season. We didn't talk any draft today. So make sure you're going over there to hang out with us and talk with us and join the community. If you are on YouTube, subscribe, like, and share here. And make sure you're joining us again after the game to make sure that you're venting and, as Chad likes to say, exercising the demons.
Hell yeah, man. It's going to be tough. And Nick, I'm going to ask you as we start to wrap things up so we can get Broncos country out of here before the game starts. Before we get to predictions and everything like that, we've already said that the Chiefs are going to beat the brakes off of the Broncos. It is what it is. Nick, what will your reaction be or your opinion be of George Payton if Vic Fangio is retained? Like, first initial reaction, because I'm trying to brace myself for it. I'm trying to be mature, right? As I'm aging, 30 years old now. I'm trying to grow up a little, and not throw a huge hissy fit and press that tweet button and get myself in trouble and get phone calls and everything else. What's your initial reaction going to be if that's the case for George Payton?
Frustration,
Yeah.
because I think it'll be mostly because he feels like his hands are tied with the ownership situation that he kept Fangio, because there's no reason on the surface why you keep him. The other thing will be talking myself into it being, well, at least Fangio isn't going to be the highest paid defensive coordinator in football with the Raiders, with the Chargers, that kind of situation. But mostly it'll just be frustration and knowing that here we go again. Next season's probably similar to this season.
Yeah, man, I think that's a fair and tempered way to look at it. I would also maybe add that it'd be extremely disappointing. Obviously, that goes with the frustration, but Vic Fangio is no longer calling the shots if he's retained. George Payton's calling the shots, down from,
Yeah.
I think, the draft to free agency to who the offensive coach is going to be, who the offensive assistants are going to be. I don't think Vic is going to have a whole lot of say or power if that's the case. I think it actually kind of neuters him as a head coach if he's brought back. And the players have already started to check out a little bit too. So that always makes it really, really tough. I got 31-13 Chiefs, I think, is my official prediction if I went back, but that's pretty much it. The Broncos can't really get above 13 points, man, and that's sad. They got a lot of starters out on defense, so I think what is usually the strength of this team, and still is today, has been somewhat limited. And now you've got Drew Lock coming out here trying to play hero ball. Why? Not to get the win, but to show that he can be an NFL quarterback on another team, something he's got to do. So I hope that we have a competitive game. I'm not expecting it, but Broncos country, I'm with you, man. Vic Fangio has got to go. I'm saying it on the airwaves officially. He deserves to be fired. I don't care how well liked he is. I don't care how good a defensive coordinator he is. He's hired to be the head coach. He's failed.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Trying to guess what George Payton's going to do has been a fool's errand so far in his tenure. So,
Yeah.
Who knows? But thank you guys for joining us today. Everyone enjoy the game. It's just one game, but it's the last game of the season for the Broncos. So make sure you enjoy it. Also, make sure you're joining us after the game as well, where you guys can hang out with Chad and Zach. We'll see you next time. We'll see you guys on the show soon, and go Broncos.
Fire Fangio, George. Do the right thing.